the feasibility of your project, obviously when a project has been initiated, your stakeholders have been identified, then obviously the entire money for the project will not be released at the start of the project. For the simple reason that the investment committee or the project prioritization committee, which differs from company to company, does not know if this project is feasible or not. So if a project, give you an example, let's say a project costs 300 million rand, end to end, from start to end, over a 3-year period, it does not mean that the company will give you, or the sponsor or the stakeholders will give you 300 million from the onset. No, because they don't know if this project is feasible. So what you need to do, or the project manager need to do, in the beginning of the project, a certain amount of capital will then be released to go and do the conception phase, and in the conception phase is to determine if this project is feasible or not. So what I'm basically saying here is that a feasibility study will justify if a project should continue or not. So, project feasibility is a major milestone within the project life cycle, because the feasibility study will tell you, should you go ahead with the project, should the project be cancelled, or should more homework be done on the project before a successful feasibility study can prove the project to go ahead. So, in short, if I need to draw the project life cycle from start to end with your different phases, there is the concept phase, there is your planning and design phase, here is execution, and there is close. What happens in your deliverables in each and every phase here, at the end of the concept phase, you will have a major milestone, which will be your project feasibility study outcome. Right. So that feasibility study outcome will determine if we should continue with the project into planning and design. Because obviously, if a project is not feasible, you are not going to invest more money into design work, preliminary design, detailed design. If you need to construct or develop a building or a parking lot or a shopping center for that matter, you are not going to invest millions of rands into the design of it and the detailed planning of it if it's not feasible. So the feasibility study will justify the go, the no-go in terms of advancing in the project life cycle. So, moving back to feasibility, what is a feasibility, a project feasibility? And what does it entail? And what does it tell the sponsor of the project? What does it tell the project manager and even the stakeholders of the project? Let us investigate. Feasibility. There are two types of feasibility on a project. Two types of feasibility. And as you can see here, there is a technical feasibility and there's a financial feasibility. So there are two major components. Is the project technically feasible and is it financially feasible? In certain cases, you'll find that in most companies in South Africa, they require as one of the major criteria for projects to be technically feasible and financially feasible. Now what do we mean if we say financially feasible? And what do we mean if we say technically feasible? Let us investigate. Technical feasibility. What does technical feasibility tell me? In terms of research and all of that, and lessons learned and past history and all of that on projects, technical feasibility focus on the availability of the resources required for implementation of the project and post-implementation or operational impact. If you don't have the technical capability, if that is absent from the project, meaning you cannot implement the project, meaning it will not be technically feasible. On top of that, the post-implementation operational impact tells me that, and it tells us all, that the project is too expensive to maintain. After the project has been planned, designed, and it goes into maintenance cycle or the operating cycle. This is what we're referring to, class. We're saying we're drawing two life cycles here. The one is the project life cycle, which is the S-curve up to there, and the other one is the maintenance life cycle. Here is operations, and here you have the project life cycle. As you can see, once the project life cycle has been completed, the operating life cycle starts kicking in. And if it so happens that it is too expensive from a rand value point of view here, if you cannot maintain the product, if you cannot afford to keep the product operational, then, or even the service operational, or the outcome, or the facility operational, the project is not technically feasible.